Every state has its own unique workers' compensation system. It turns out Oregon has one of the best in the nation, a system that benefits everyone, from employers to employees. In Oregon, claims per 100 workers fell by 68% since 1990, thanks in large part to the safety efforts of Oregon employers and employees. During the same period, premium rates for workers' compensation declined 78.8%, $35 billion savings for Oregon businesses large and small. Oregon now has among the lowest premium rates in the country, but it wasn't always this way.
As long as I can remember, every legislative session before 1990, late at night or early the next morning, ended in a fight about workers' comp. And not much ever happened.
In 1989, the last bill to die at the legislature was a workers' comp bill. It was highly contentious because there were lots of what I call cottage industries that were making a living off of the system. Employers were spending a ton of money. Our awards for disability were under average. We were at the low end, sixth highest in cost and at the low end on what we paid out.
I tell this story, and I'm not kidding. I have had grown men calling me at my house, crying, trying to get out of the workers' comp system. It was easy to get in, but you couldn't get out.
The workers would get caught up in this litigation snarl and they just couldn't get out of it. And once they did finally have their claim closed, it didn't mean they had a job to go back to.
We had problems with workers' comp. We had people getting on it even though they weren't injured and couldn't get them off of it. The system was really a bad system. It was really a disaster for the state.
The governor, he came up with this idea. He says, you know, the legislative process is not working. And he says, I'm going to get half labor and half management together, and you're going to meet in my basement.
We needed a group of people, just employers, labor representatives, trying to work this out.
Once we got into Mahonia Hall and started talking, they came in with a whiteboard, and one of the members said, if we were going to design the system today based on what we know now, what would it look like?
And then we broke the system down into sections: benefit levels, safety, litigation, medical care, big ticket item there.
There were several things labor wanted. There was probably 14 to 18 things that business thought should be corrected. And I think that we hit almost all of them, if not all of them, all of what labor wanted and what management also felt we needed.
3.5 months later, we came up with a dramatic document. Got it done, got it drafted. The governor called a one-day special session of the legislature in 1990, and we passed it.
Good evening, everybody. The Oregon legislature is in special session tonight, working to reduce the cost of Oregon's workers' compensation system.
That package is expected to save employers $400 million a year, while still increasing some benefits to workers.
The reforms made significant changes to improving safety, returning to work, managing medical costs, and putting medical professionals in charge of care. The reforms included an emphasis on preventing workplace accidents by focusing on Oregon OSHA's role in workplace safety enforcement and education programs, and by requiring most employers to maintain a safety committee. They also established ombudsmen for injured workers and small businesses, advocates that help navigate the workers' compensation process. Today, there are fewer disputes. When litigation does occur, workers have rights to appeal decisions with an attorney at no cost.
The first thing that I noticed was a total change in attitudes on the job about safety.
They did a lot of really good things in the bill, like having safety committees. And I think the employers became a lot more aware that the cost of an injury was very expensive. And so I think they were interested in making sure that they had fewer accidents also.
There was a drastic reduction in litigation in the state of Oregon, which means that the workers' claim goes faster, they get their benefits faster, they get back to work faster, they get back to their lives faster.
For the company that I was with, we went from almost $1 million in defense costs down to about $50,000. And our workers, since they knew we were self-insured, knew that that was money that was coming out of the same pot for potential raises, capital improvements.
Oregon has had some of the lowest workers' comp rates in the country since the reforms have taken place. But in addition to that, the benefits that workers receive are really very strong. The Mahonia Hall reforms, while they got into detail, really established some principles for the system. One is return to work. It's so important that workers get back to work as soon as possible. And both management and labor are committed to that. The second is access to good medical care. Both management and labor understand that in order to get back to work, there has to be good medical care on an ongoing basis.
Oregon is one of the best workers' comp systems in the United States. There's a balance between what the employers are paying, the services that are being provided, and then the benefits that the employee receives. I think we've struck the right bargain and the right balance in Oregon.
One of the most groundbreaking reforms was the creation of the Management Labor Advisory Committee, or MLAC. The governor and legislators looked to this committee for guidance on changes to Oregon's workers' compensation system. Continuing the legacy of the 1990 reforms, the committee is still made up of 5 members from both management and labor.
Whenever a bill is introduced that has to do with the workers' comp system, it's normally referred to MLAC first to see if MLAC can take a position on it. And if MLAC says, yep, thumbs up, we think this is a good piece of legislation, it doesn't automatically mean that it's going to pass, but it has a pretty good chance of passing. Whereas if MLAC says, no, this is a bad idea, then it usually doesn't get much legs.
The benefit of being in the MLAC system is that management and labor have to come together to talk about something. There's a lot of systems in which legislation is passed, and there's maybe debates on the House floor and some behind-the-scenes activity, but there isn't this same public discourse that's required before a piece of legislation or a significant change can pass on to becoming, implemented.
I believe through MLAC process versus without MLAC, then I don't believe that there would be as many voices heard and as many perspectives heard through that process. MLAC provides that opportunity and then can provide information to our legislators to make the policy decisions.
The committee is the reason Oregon has such a strong workers' compensation system. While businesses pay some of the lowest rates in the country, injured workers get some of the most robust benefits, and everyone gains from strong safety measures and an overall reduction in injuries. The Management Labor Advisory Committee ensures balance, so no single narrow agenda can drive changes to workers' compensation. It's a system that works for everyone.
I hope MLAC stays in place, and I would hope that people from both sides of the aisle that come sit at the table, their intent and their desire when they're sitting at that table is to do the right thing for the workers' comp system.
Our predecessors really dug in and figured out this is how we want this system to work. And so for those of us on MLAC, for those that come after the current members, it's just so key that we continue to keep those tenets in mind as we go forward. It's tantamount to our being able to maintain the system the way that it is.
A lot of citizens believe, a large number of citizens believe that the legislative process just doesn't work. You can't do big things. I think what the Mahonia Hall group did more than anything else, it actually told the public, the system works. We can make your life better.
I used to be involved in labor negotiations, and I always felt there was a winner and a loser. Mahonia Hall was the first time in my life that I saw you could do a win-win.